Welcome to Bible Quiz Studio.
It's quiz time. Think you really know the disciples of Jesus? Let's put your Bible knowledge to the test with some exciting true or false questions. You've got 40 questions and just 7 seconds to answer each one. Some are easy, some are tricky. How many can you get right? Challenge yourself and invite a friend to join the fun. Let's see who knows the Bible best. Peter was the only disciple who walked on water toward Jesus. True. Matthew chapter 14, verse 29 says, "So he said, 'Come.' And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus." Thomas was called the Zealot. False. Luke chapter 6, verse 15 says, "Now Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came." Andrew was the brother of James. False. Matthew chapter 4, verse 18 says, "And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon, called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers." Matthew was a fisherman before following Jesus. False. Matthew chapter 9, verse 9 says, "As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, 'Follow me.'" James and John were nicknamed Sons of Thunder by Jesus. True. Mark chapter 3, verse 17 says, "James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges, that is, Sons of Thunder." Judas Iscariot kept the money bag for the group. True. John chapter 12, verses 4 to 6 say, "Then saith one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, he was a thief, and had the money box, and he used to take what was put in it."
Jesus once told Nathanael, "Before Philip called you, I saw you under the fig tree." True. John chapter 1, verse 48 say, "Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee."
Simon Peter cut off the ear of the high priest's servant during Jesus' arrest. True. John chapter 18, verse 10 says, "Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and struck the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear."
The disciples once argued among themselves about who would be the greatest. True. Luke chapter 9, verse 46 says, "Then a dispute arose among them as to which of them would be greatest."
Thomas was absent when Jesus first appeared to the disciples after his resurrection. True. John chapter 20, verse 24 says, "Thomas, called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came."
Jesus rebuked Peter by saying, "Get behind me, Satan." True. Matthew chapter 16, verse 23 says, "But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan, you are an offense to me."
Peter, Matthew, and John were with Jesus when he raised Jairus' daughter. False. Mark chapter 5, verse 37 says, "And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James."
Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus with a kiss. True. Luke chapter 22 verse 47 says, "While he was still speaking, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them and drew near to Jesus to kiss him." John was the only disciple present at the crucifixion. True. John chapter 19 verse 26 says, "When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by, whom he loved, he saith unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son." Jesus promised Bartholomew that he would sit on his right hand in the kingdom. False. Matthew chapter 20 verse 21 says, "She said to him, Grant that these two sons of mine may sit, one on your right hand and the other on the left, in your kingdom."
Peter denied knowing Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed. True. Matthew chapter 26 verse 74 says, "Then he began to curse and swear, saying, I do not know the man." Immediately a rooster crowed. Jesus told John, "Feed my sheep." False. John chapter 21 verse 17 says, "He said to him the 3rd time, Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?" Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep." Philip asked Jesus to show them the Father. True. John chapter 14 verse 8 says, "Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and it is sufficient for us." Matthew was one of the first 2 disciples Jesus called. False. Matthew chapter 4 verse 18 says, "And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw 2 brethren, Simon, called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers."
Peter, James, and John witnessed the transfiguration of Jesus. True. Matthew chapter 17 verses 1 and 2 say, "And after 6 days Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them."
Doing great? Or finding it a bit tricky? Don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying the challenge, and subscribe for more Bible quizzes and trivia. Let's go. Jesus once rebuked his disciples for trying to stop children from coming to him. True. Mark chapter 10 verses 13 to 14 say, "And they brought young children to him, that he should touch them. And his disciples rebuked those that brought them. But when Jesus saw it, he was much displeased." Jesus washed Judas's feet along with the others. True. John chapter 13 verse 5 says, "And after that he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet." Andrew was the disciple who brought the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish to Jesus. True. John chapter 6 verses 8 and 9 say, One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish." James, son of Zebedee, was the first apostle to be martyred. True. Acts chapter 12, verse 2 says, "Then he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword."
The disciples gathered 7 baskets of leftovers after Jesus fed the 5,000. False. Matthew chapter 14 verse 20 says, "So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of the fragments that remained."
Peter's original name was Cephas. False. John chapter 1 verse 42 says, "Jesus looked at him and said, 'You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas,' which is translated, a stone." The disciple who leaned on Jesus' chest during the Last Supper was John. True. John chapter 13 verse 23 says, "Now there was leaning on Jesus' bosom one of his disciples, whom Jesus loved." Jesus called Levi to follow him while he was sitting under a fig tree. False. Mark chapter 2 verse 14 says, "And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax office. And he said to him, 'Follow me.'" Jesus asked Philip where to buy bread before feeding the 5,000. True. John chapter 6 verse 5 says, "Then Jesus lifted up his eyes, and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, 'Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?'" Peter was the first disciple to reach the empty tomb. False. John chapter 20 verse 4 says, "So they both ran together, and the other disciple outran Peter and came to the tomb first."
Jesus appeared first to John after his resurrection. False. John chapter 20 verse 14 says, "Now when she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, and did not know that it was Jesus." After the resurrection, Jesus told Peter 4 times to feed his sheep. False. John chapter 21 verse 17 says, "He said to him the 3rd time, 'Simon, son of Jonah, do you love me?' Jesus said to him, 'Feed my sheep.'" Judas Iscariot returned the silver and hanged himself. True. Matthew chapter 27 verse 5 says, "Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself." After the resurrection, Jesus appeared to 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus. True. Luke chapter 24 verses 13 to 15 say, "Now behold, 2 of them were traveling that same day to a village called Emmaus, and Jesus himself drew near and went with them." James and John once asked Jesus for permission to call fire from heaven. True.
Luke chapter 9 verse 54 says, "And when his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, 'Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them?'" Jesus told Thomas, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." True. John chapter 20 verse 29 says, "Jesus said to him, 'Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Jesus once told his disciples to carry a staff and extra sandals when going out to preach. False. Mark chapter 6 verses 8 and 9 say, "And commanded them that they should take nothing for their journey, save a staff only, no scrip, no bread, no money in their purse, but be shod with sandals, and not put on 2 coats." When Jesus was arrested, all the disciples stayed near him except Peter. False. Matthew chapter 26 verse 56 says, "Then all the disciples forsook him and fled." Jesus told his disciples that they would sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. True. Matthew chapter 19 verse 28 says, "Jesus said to them, 'Assuredly I say to you, that in the regeneration, when the Son of Man sits on the throne of his glory, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones.'" Nathanael doubted Jesus' origin, saying, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" True. John chapter 1 verse 46 says, "And Nathanael said to him, 'Can anything good come out of Nazareth?' Philip said to him, 'Come and see.'" You made it to the end. Great job. How did you do? Let us know your score in the comments below. Subscribe for more fun Bible quizzes and share the joy with friends. See you in the next one.